Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to yet another exciting adventure of the Housing and Real Property Subcommittee. It is now 3:01. This meeting is now called to order. We have a very short agenda today. It is relevant to two bills. However, they are cross files of each other, which should make things relatively simple for us this afternoon. Ben, if you could begin with HB 1534, I certainly would appreciate it, Ben. You have the floor. You're on mute. There you
Thank
go.
you, Chair Holmes. In Chair Holmes, if I may, I have the Senate bill with the amendment, and they are the same with the House amendment. If that's okay, if we
That's fine. So,
okay,
so we're going to discuss SB 758. Is that correct, Ben?
that's right. And the amendment, Chair Holmes, that you have for the House bill 1534, they conform now, so that it's effectively the same bill in that sense. Okay,
Perfect.
okay,
And,
thank you,
and,
Chair.
and just to be certain, SB 758 is unamended, but HB 1534 is amended. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, the third reader, as it is in the House now, the Senate bill did cross over. It
Mhm.
was voted out, and so the Senate bill had an amendment, but
Oh, gotcha.
there's no further amendments being done by the House to the Senate amendment, is my understanding.
I totally understand. You have the floor, Ben.
Okay, thank you, Chair Holmes. So there's no fiscal impact with this bill. The subject there, condominiums and homeowners associations. And the two main subjects are going to be elections and financial statements for each of these communities. I'll just go through the main parts of the bill here. The first part there in paragraph 17 on line 15 is that providing that elections for officers and members of the governing body can be conducted by independent parties who do not have an interest in the outcome. So it's providing that the elections for the officers and the governing body um, need to be conducted by independent parties who are not candidates and do not have a conflict of interest regarding any candidate in the election. A unit owner can be an independent party. Um, it This brings us to the conforming amendment that the Senate has, that the Senate adopted, and that the House bill will also have, if adopted, which is providing that the initial language was saying that generally the property management business for the condo and or the HOA, which is the other half of the bill, is not an independent party. However, the amendment is adding that unless the property management business is owned by the condo or a parent association. And I think the logic behind that is if it's owned by the building, the thinking was with the adopted amendment from the Senate that that has more of a duty to the collective body as opposed to one that might just be working with the governing body. The next provision, it provides that for in paragraph 18 that the governing body can retain third-party vendors or a technology platform to conduct an election.
And Matt, pause there for a minute, Ben.
Yep.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to emphasize a single word here on line number 1 on page 3. May retain. Thanks, Ben.
Okay, of course. So there are some general provisions following that, like in 19, that the election has to be fair, providing that they have to, a unit owner who's conducting an election needs to do it in good faith, um, and who does so in good faith is not liable. In paragraph 21, it goes on to say that the governing body has to make reasonable accommodations, such as allowing the use of common areas for organizing activities that relate to the governance of the condominium. So that's in paragraph 21 there. The next provision, and so that, yeah, that's, and then it provides, there's like a catch-all here in 22 that the provisions of the governing documents or regulations relating to the conduct of elections that are inconsistent with this requirement are unenforceable and void. relating to the condo's governing documents. The next provision here is 11116 of the Condominium Act, and this concerns the books and records of the condo generally, and then specifically looking at the build provision here. The existing part of subsection D of the bill as amended is providing that a council of unit owners can impose a reasonable charge for review or copying the books and records. But then that's being amended. It's generally kept intact, this provision we just talked about, but there's this part here in two on line 6 where it's providing that a unit owner may not be charged for examining the financial statements of the condo in person, or if they're receiving a copy through electronic transmission. My understanding is the thinking behind that is if you're a unit owner, you should be able to access them in the least burdensome ways, whether it's in person or the electronic transmission. The next part of the bill, 11130 here, this is the consumer protection provision for the entire Condominium Act and the Condominium Act's provisions. So generally, in general, there's if a provision of the act is violated, it can be within the scope of the enforcement duties for the Consumer Protection Division of the Attorney General. What it's doing is adding unit owner to the definition here for who a consumer is and who would be protected by the Consumer Protection Division. And so that's just being explicit. I think there's a lot of cases where there'd be existing overlap, like if you're a purchaser or a lessee, but it's making that further clear, provides that they can adopt regulations as well. And then that brings us to 11B, which is the HOA Act. There's the same provisions for the HOA Act, and they resemble them pretty closely. So I can stop there, Chair Holmes.
Thank you, Ben. I move favorable on the amendments. Do I have a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Let's go into the discussion phase of these amendments. Is there any discussion? I'm going to scroll through to see if I see any hands up or hands raised. I do not. All in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Oh, say it again, Regina. I'm sorry, delegate voice. All in favor signify of the amendment signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed. I see no hands. I move SB 758 as amended. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any questions on SB 758 as amended? And I'm scrolling through. I see no questions. Therefore, all in favor of SB 758 as amended signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposition to SB 785? I see none and no one is excusing themselves. Thank you very much. Now, Ben, can you go now to HB 1534?
Yeah, I totally can, Chair Holmes. I just wanted to check though, because they're the cross files. I think, I mean, yeah, they're going to be uniform now with the amendment.
There you go. So now HB 1534 is now in the same posture as SB 758 that we just passed.
I move the bill favorable, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Thank you. And there's a motion and a second. Any questions on HB 1534? Ben, go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Chair Holmes. And just trying to clarify, yeah, there's going to be an amendment, the same one that was adopted by the Senate, conforming the two bills, making that one change that we did look at with Senate Bill 758. So just
And that's going to be, thank you so much. There's a motion and a second. Therefore, any questions? Shouldn't be. We just went through all that. All in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Now we have HB 1534 infirmants, but the amendment all in favor is there a motion?
Move the bill, Mr. Chair.
Is there a second? Any questions? None. All in favor of HB 1534 as amended signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. It is done. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for another well-run, efficient, effective subcommittee meeting. See you all at 3:30.
Bye-bye.